On my ex-boyfriend's wedding day, he mocked my simple life in front of his rich friends. But when his bride-to-be saw me, she froze with horror. What happened next left everyone in shock. The measuring spoons clattered against the metal bowl as my hands trembled. 6 wedding cakes, I'd done hundreds before, but this one was different. This one was for him. I'm Scarlett, and somehow I'd landed myself in the most twisted situation of my life, baking for my ex-boyfriend's wedding. The same man who'd told me I'd never amount to anything more than small-town trash. Girl, you need to call them and cancel. Tabitha's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts as she leaned against my industrial kitchen counter. This isn't healthy. I can't. I continued mixing the batter, perhaps a bit more aggressively than necessary. This contract could put sweet endings on the map. Do you know how many wealthy clients attend these society weddings? Screw wealthy clients. Tabitha grabbed my wrist, forcing me to stop stirring. We're talking about Jackson, the same Jackson who dumped me because I wasn't ambitious enough for his taste. I yanked my hand away. Trust me. I remember. The timer dinged, and I welcomed the distraction, pulling out a perfectly golden layer of vanilla sponge. The familiar scent of butter and vanilla usually calmed me. But today, it just reminded me of that last night with Jackson, when I'd baked him his favorite cookies right before he crushed my heart. At least let me come with you to the venue tomorrow, Tabitha pleaded, following me as I moved around the kitchen. You shouldn't face them alone. Them? I raised an eyebrow, setting the cake layer to cool. Jackson, his stuck-up friends, and his picture-perfect fiancée. She counted off on her fingers. What's her name again? Celeste? The name hit like a punch to the gut. I'd seen Celeste's face plastered across local society pages. Old money, perfect smile, everything I supposedly wasn't. Look, I said, turning to face Tabitha. This is just business. I'm not the same naive girl who thought love conquered all. I own this bakery now. I'm successful in my own right. Rhea called earlier. Tabitha changed tactics. She said she'd be happy to take this contract if— No, I slammed a cabinet door harder than intended. I'm not hiding from this. Besides, you should see the commission they're paying. It's enough to finally get that new industrial mixer we need. My phone buzzed with a text. Speaking of the devil, it was from Jackson's wedding planner confirming tomorrow's venue visit. Fine. Tabitha threw up her hands in defeat. But promise me you won't let them get to you, especially that friend of his. What's his name? Chase? I heard he's been running his mouth about you taking the contract. I forced a smile. Let them talk. I'll let my work speak for itself. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of buttercream and fondant. As the sun set, casting long shadows across my empty bakery, Tabitha finally headed home, but not before making me promise to call her if things went sideways tomorrow. Alone at last, I pulled out the wedding brief. 6 tiers of white chocolate and raspberry, decorated with hand-painted sugar flowers. Classic, elegant, probably cost more than my first car. My fingers traced over the specifications, remembering how Jackson used to mock my dreams of opening my own bakery. A baker. He'd laughed. Come on, Scarlett. You're better than that. Come to the city with me. I can get you a real job. The memories sparked something inside me. Not pain, not anymore, but determination. I grabbed my phone and dialed Rhea. Hey, I know it's late, but I need a favor. Remember those sugar flowers you're so amazing at? Think you could help me create something spectacular tomorrow? I want to show these people what small-town trash can really do. Her enthusiastic response made me smile for the first time that day. Tomorrow, I'd walk into that venue with my head held high. Let them whisper. Let them judge. I had nothing to prove to Jackson or his wealthy friends anymore, but I had everything to prove to myself. As I locked up the bakery, the streetlights flickering to life around me, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wedding would change everything. I just didn't know how right I was. Looking up at the fading sunset, I made myself a promise. By the time this wedding was over, they'd never forget the small-town baker they'd underestimated. I just had no idea then that revenge would taste sweeter than any cake I'd ever baked. The Griffin estate loomed before me, all marble columns and manicured lawns. I gripped my portfolio tighter, forcing myself to breathe as I navigated my beat-up Honda through a sea of luxury vehicles. Well, if it isn't the little baker girl. Chase's voice dripped with condescension as I stepped out of my car. He stood with a group of Jackson's friends near the entrance, champagne flutes in hand despite the early hour. I straightened my blazer, silently thanking Tabitha for insisting I dress rich people fancy today. Good morning, Chase. Still day drinking at 10 a.m. I see. Some things never change. His smile tightened as a few of his companions poorly concealed their snickers. Before he could respond, the wedding planner, Miranda, clicked her way down the steps in impossibly high heels. Scarlett, thank goodness you're here. We need to discuss the cake placement immediately. She grabbed my arm, steering me away from Chase's group. Don't mind them, darling, they're just here for the pre-wedding brunch. Inside, the mansion buzzed with activity. Staff members darted around with flowers and fabric swatches, transforming the already opulent space into something even more extravagant. The cake will go here. Miranda gestured to an elaborate display area. We're thinking of a spotlight effect to really make it pop. Perfect. I opened my portfolio showing her the sketches Ria and I had worked on last night. I was thinking we could incorporate these hand-painted sugar flowers cascading down. Oh my God. Is that Scarlett Young? I froze. That voice. I turned to see Sylvia, Celeste's sister, sashaying toward us in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I told Celeste she should have gone with a fancy bakery in the city. She stage whispered to Miranda, but she insisted on supporting local business. Her air quotes made my teeth clench. Your sister has excellent taste, I replied smoothly. My sugar flowers won the regional pastry competition last spring. How quaint. Sylvia picked up my portfolio, flipping through it with exaggerated disinterest. But can you handle something of this scale? This isn't exactly a small-town birthday party. I assure you, I started, but was cut off by new voices entering the room. The flowers should be roses, Jackson. I don't care what your mother says about lilies. My heart stopped. Jackson and Celeste walked in arm, the perfect society couple. He looked exactly the same. Maybe a bit more polished, but still devastatingly handsome until he opened his mouth. Scarlett. His surprise quickly morphed into that familiar smirk. I didn't think you'd actually come. I'm professional enough to separate business from pleasure, I said, taking my portfolio back from Sylvia, or lack thereof. Celeste's eyes darted between us, her perfect smile never wavering. So, you're the famous baker everyone's been talking about. Your portfolio is impressive. Something in her tone made me look closer. Behind that society smile, I caught a flash of something: recognition, understanding. Before I could analyze it further, Chase sauntered in. Hey Jackson, remember when Scarlett used to talk about opening a cute little cupcake shop? He laughed, draping an arm over Jackson's shoulder. Look at her now, living the dream. Actually, I cut in, pulling up photos on my tablet. Sweet Endings was just featured in Wedding Style magazine. These are from the governor's daughter's wedding last month. The room fell silent as they looked at the photos. Even Sylvia's perfectly maintained eyebrows rose slightly. Well, Miranda clapped her hands, breaking the tension. We should discuss the delivery schedule. Scarlett, if you'll follow me. As we walked away, I heard Chase mutter, still can't believe they hired the help to cater. I stopped dead in my tracks, turning slowly. You know what, Chase? You're right. I am the help, and I'm damn proud of it. Because while you're still living off Daddy's money, I built something of my own. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a wedding cake to design. The silence that followed me out was sweeter than any frosting I'd ever made. But it was Celeste's expression that stuck with me. That quick flash of what looked almost like admiration. Miranda led me to a private room to discuss details, but my mind was racing. Something felt off about this whole situation. The way Celeste had looked at me, the tension in the room that went beyond mere social awkwardness. Scarlett? Miranda's voice snapped me back about the delivery schedule. Right, I said, pulling out my calendar. Let's make sure everything is perfect for the big day. Perfect, I thought, or perfectly devastating. Either way, I had a feeling this wedding was going to be one for the books. 2 weeks before the wedding, I was back at the Griffin estate, setting up a tasting session. My hands moved with practiced precision as I arranged cake samples on delicate china plates, each one a testament to years of perfecting my craft. Still playing with sugar and flour, I see. I didn't need to turn around to know it was Jackson. His cologne, still the same expensive brand, filled the empty dining room. Some of us actually enjoy our work, I said, continuing to arrange the plates. Though I suppose that's hard to understand when you're just managing Daddy's hedge fund. He moved closer, examining the display. You know, I always thought you'd grow out of this phase, come to your senses. You mean become the trophy wife you wanted? I finally turned to face him. Sorry to disappoint, that's not. He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair. I wanted more for you, Scarlett. This town, this life, it's so small. Small? I gestured to the cake samples. The governor's daughter didn't think so. Neither did the mayor's son or that tech billionaire who flew me to California last month. His eyes narrowed. Since when do you travel for work, have high-profile clients? Sorry. I forgot to update you on my career moves after you dumped me. The door opened, and Miranda bustled in with her clipboard. Everything ready. The family will be here in 5 minutes. Perfect timing, a voice said behind her. Celeste stood in the doorway looking immaculate in a cream-colored suit. Her eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that seemed out of place for a simple cake tasting. Jackson, darling, she said, not breaking eye contact with me. Your mother's on the phone. Something about the seating arrangement. He hesitated, looking between us before leaving. The moment he was gone, Celeste's perfect posture slumped slightly. Miranda, she said, could you give us a moment? After Miranda left, Celeste approached the display, picking up a fork. You made these yourself? Every layer. I watched her carefully. Is there a problem? No, she said, sampling the lemon cake. They're excellent, just like the ones you used to make for the homeless shelter on 5th Street. My hand froze mid-arrangement. How did you? I volunteered there, she said quietly. 3 years ago, before my family. She trailed off, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the china, before things changed. Before I could respond, the doors burst open. Chase and Sylvia entered, followed by several other members of the wedding party. Oh, good cake. Chase grabbed a fork. Let's see if small-town baker can compete with Chase. Celeste cut him off sharply. Show some respect. Scarlett's work is exceptional. The room fell silent. Chase's fork stopped midway to his mouth. In fact, Celeste continued, I'd love to discuss some special requests with you, Scarlett, privately. Perhaps tomorrow? Sylvia's eyes narrowed. Celeste, we have the final dress fitting tomorrow. I'll reschedule. Celeste handed me a business card. My private number's on the back. Call me in the morning. The tasting continued in a blur of compliments and critiques, but my mind was elsewhere. Something was happening beneath the surface. Something in Celeste's eyes when she mentioned the shelter. As I packed up my supplies later, Jackson reappeared. Whatever game you're playing, he said, leaning against the door frame. It won't work. Game. I closed my cake carrier with a snap. I'm just doing my job. Celeste is naive. She doesn't know you like I do. I straightened up, meeting his gaze. No, she doesn't know me like you do. She seems to know me better. His jaw tightened. Just remember your place, Scarlett. You're the help, nothing more. My place? I stepped closer. My place is wherever I damn well choose it to be. And right now, it's making your wedding cake. Unless you'd like to explain to your society friends why you fired the baker featured in Wedding Style. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. That's what I thought. I gathered my things and headed for the door, pausing beside him. Oh, and Jackson, the lemon cake you just praised? It's the same recipe you called amateur 5 years ago. Funny how money changes people's taste buds. I left him standing there, but my confidence wavered once I reached my car. Celeste's business card burned in my pocket like a live coal. Tomorrow's meeting could change everything. I just wasn't sure if it would be for better or worse. As I drove home, my phone buzzed with a text from Tabitha. How'd it go? I pulled over and stared at the message, then at Celeste's card. After a long moment, I typed back, You're not going to believe what just happened. The coffee shop Celeste chose was on the outskirts of town. No chance of running into her usual crowd here. She sat in a corner booth, her designer clothes standing out against the worn leather seats. You're probably wondering why I asked you here, she said, as I slid into the seat across from her. The thought crossed my mind. I wrapped my hands around my coffee mug along with why the bride is having secret meetings with her fiancé's ex. Celeste leaned forward, her voice dropping. What do you know about my family's business? Griffin Industries, only what everyone knows. Real estate development, corporate acquisitions. That's the glossy version. She pulled out her phone, sliding it across the table. This is the reality. I looked at the screen. Documents, photographs, spreadsheets. I don't understand. Keep scrolling. With each swipe, my stomach turned. Photos of demolished community centers, eviction notices, environmental violations, spreadsheets showing manipulated numbers, properties undervalued, then resold at massive profits. That homeless shelter where we met? Celeste's voice cracked. My father bought it 6 months later. Now it's luxury condos. Why are you showing me this? Because I need your help. She grabbed my wrist. And because you're the only person who might understand? Understand what? What it's like to watch Jackson and his friends destroy people's lives while calling it business. Her grip tightened. I thought I could change things from the inside. But this wedding, it's just another business merger. My family's influence combined with his family's connections. The bell above the door chimed. We both jumped as Rhea walked in, stopping short when she saw us, scarlet. She looked between us, confusion clear on her face. Rhea, I stood quickly. I'm just having a meeting about the wedding cake. Right. She didn't look convinced. I'll see you at the bakery later. After she left, Celeste relaxed slightly. Can we trust her? With sugar flowers? Absolutely. With this? I gestured to her phone. I don't know yet, but what exactly are you proposing? I have access to more documents, proof of everything they've done, but I need someone on the outside, someone they won't suspect. She smiled grimly. Someone they've already underestimated. You want to expose them right before your wedding, during it. Her eyes gleamed. When everyone who matters is there to witness it. I sat back, mind racing. This is crazy. You're talking about taking down your own family. They stopped being family when they started destroying other families for profit. She pulled out another phone, a burner, I realized. I've been gathering evidence for months, but I need help getting it to the right people at the right time. And you think the bitter ex-girlfriend is your best choice? I think the successful businesswoman who built herself up from nothing is my best choice. She leaned forward again. They never saw you coming, Scarlett. Just like they never saw me coming. My coffee had gone cold. If we do this, there's no going back. You know that, right? I stopped being able to go back the day I found out what they did to that shelter. She pulled out a USB drive. Everything's here, take it. Look through it. If you're in, text this number. As she stood to leave, I grabbed her arm. Why now? Why not expose them some other way? Because they're about to close their biggest deal yet, right after the wedding. A development project that will displace hundreds of families. She slipped on her sunglasses. We have 2 weeks to stop it. After she left, I sat there holding the USB drive, feeling its weight in my palm. My phone buzzed, a text from Rhea. Everything okay? That looked intense. I stared at the message, then at the drive. Finally, I typed back, Can you come over tonight? I need your help with something, but you have to promise to keep it quiet. Of course, should I bring wine? Bring the whole bottle. We're going to need it. I tucked the drive into my pocket and headed for the door. The same barista who had served us watched me leave. And I wondered briefly if Celeste had chosen this place because it was scheduled for renovation soon. Outside, the summer sun beat down on the cracked parking lot. My phone buzzed again. Jackson this time. Probably with some passive-aggressive comment about the cake flavors. I declined the call. For years, I'd thought karma would catch up with him naturally. Now I had the chance to give it a helping hand. The question was, could I handle the consequences? As I drove back to the bakery, I remembered something my grandmother used to say. Sometimes the right thing and the hard thing are the same thing. I pulled out the burner phone Celeste had slipped me and typed, I'm in. Let's make this wedding one they'll never forget. Holy shit, Rhea whispered, staring at my laptop screen. Holy actual shit. We sat in my apartment above the bakery, surrounded by empty wine glasses and printouts of Celeste's documents. The USB drive had contained even more damning evidence than I'd expected. Look at this one. I pointed to a particular spreadsheet. They bought the community center for pennies on the dollar after spreading rumors about drug activity in the area, which they started. Rhea added, shuffling through papers by paying people to hang around outside. That's diabolical. My burner phone buzzed. Celeste's message read, Tomorrow, dress fitting. Back entrance of boutique at 2. Are you sure about this? Rhea asked, watching me type a response. If they catch you, the bell downstairs chimed. Someone entering the bakery after hours. We froze. We're closed, I called out, quickly gathering the papers. It's me. Tabitha's voice carried up the stairs, and you better have a good explanation for why you're not answering your regular phone. I opened the door to find her holding a pizza box and wearing her urine trouble face. Okay? She said, taking in the scene. Papers everywhere, Rhea looking guilty. Multiple phones on the table. What are you two up to? Close the door, I said. As we filled her in, Tabitha's expression shifted from concern to shock to something like grim determination. So let me get this straight, she said, pacing. You're going to help the bride expose her family's corruption at her own wedding, which you're catering? That's the plan. Girl, she stopped pacing. This isn't just karma anymore. This is some Ocean's 11 level stuff. I know it's risky. Risky? Rhea cut in. Scarlett, these people destroyed entire communities. What if they come after you, after the bakery? My burner phone buzzed again. Celeste, bring a cake sample tomorrow. Make it look routine. They won't, I said more confidently than I felt, because we're going to be smart about this. I pulled out a fresh piece of paper. Rhea, you're the best at sugar work I know. We need a way to hide USB drives in the cake decorations. What? She paused, then grabbed a pencil. Actually, I might have an idea. Those sugar flowers we were planning, we could hollow out the centers. Perfect. I turned to Tabitha. And I need you to do some digging. You're a paralegal. Can you find out which reporters might be interested in this story? Already thinking of 3 who'd kill for this scoop. She pulled out her phone. But we need to be careful how we approach them. We worked late into the night, planning every detail. Rhea sketched designs for hollow sugar flowers, while Tabitha compiled a list of contacts. I practiced my cake presentation for tomorrow, making sure everything looked perfectly normal. At midnight, my regular phone rang. Jackson, should I answer it? I asked. Put it on speaker, Tabitha said. Scarlett. His voice filled the room. We need to talk about the cake design. Some of the elements seem inappropriate for an event of this caliber. The design Celeste approved yesterday. I kept my voice neutral. The one Miranda praised. Things have changed. I'm sending you new specifications. Any changes need to come through the wedding planner? I said, reciting standard policy. You understand, of course. Everything needs to be properly documented. A pause. Right. Of course. He hung up. He knows something's up, Rhea said. No, Tabitha corrected. He suspects something's up, but his ego won't let him believe his small-town ex could possibly be a threat. My burner phone buzzed one last time. Celeste, be careful tomorrow. Sylvia's getting suspicious. I looked at my friends, then at the evidence scattered around us. Last chance to back out. This could get ugly. Rhea stood up, gathering the sketches. I'll start on those sugar flowers first thing tomorrow. I'll make those calls, Tabitha added, grabbing her coat. Just promise me you'll be careful tomorrow. After they left, I stood at my window, looking down at the quiet street below. The bakery sign cast a soft glow on the sidewalk, sweet endings in elegant script. My phone buzzed one final time, a text from an unknown number. Watch your back, baker girl. Something should stay buried. I took a screenshot and sent it to both Rhea and Tabitha, then typed out a message on the burner phone to Celeste. Game on, see you tomorrow. Looking at the scattered papers, I realized there was no turning back now. Tomorrow would set everything in motion. I just hoped we were ready for whatever came next. I picked up a photo from the pile, the demolished homeless shelter. Sometimes revenge isn't just about getting even. Sometimes it's about making things right. 3 days before the wedding, everything went sideways. I was in the bakery kitchen with Rhea, carefully assembling the hollow sugar flowers, when Sylvia burst through the door unannounced. Well. She stalked around the workspace, perfectly manicured nails trailing along the counter. Quite the operation you have here. Rhea's hands trembled slightly as she continued working on a delicate rose petal. I stepped forward, blocking Sylvia's view of our work. This is a restricted area, I said firmly. Health code regulations. Oh, please. Sylvia pulled out her phone, showing me a photo. My heart stopped. It was me and Celeste at the coffee shop. Want to explain this? Discussing cake details with the bride. I kept my voice steady. That's literally my job. In some dive across town, she swiped to another photo. Celeste passing me the USB drive. Try again. The kitchen door swung open again. Celeste walked in, still in her wedding dress from the final fitting. Sylvia. Her voice was ice. What are you doing here? Protecting our family. Sylvia turned to her sister. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? The secret meetings, the mysterious phone calls. Get out, Celeste said. No. Sylvia stepped closer. You're about to marry into one of the most powerful families in the state. I won't let you ruin everything because of some misplaced guilt over a few necessary business decisions. Necessary? Celeste laughed bitterly. Was it necessary to bribe health inspectors to shut down that daycare center? Necessary to forge documents about asbestos in the senior living facility? Rhea dropped a sugar flower, the delicate petals shattering on the floor. You should leave, I told her quietly. She nodded, gathering her things quickly. Once she was gone, Sylvia's perfectly composed mask cracked. You ungrateful little. Careful, I cut in. You're not the only one with photos. I pulled out my phone, showing her the screenshots of threatening texts I'd received. Anonymous numbers are traceable, you know. You think you can threaten me? She grabbed my phone, but I'd already backed everything up. I'll destroy your little bakery, one health code violation report, and what? Celeste stepped between us. You'll prove exactly what we're trying to expose, how our family crushes anyone who stands in their way. I'm trying to protect you. No, Celeste said softly. You're trying to protect yourself, your lifestyle, your reputation. If you do this, Sylvia's voice shook. There's no going back, no trust fund, no family connections, nothing. I know. Celeste smiled sadly. That's the point. The kitchen door opened again. This time it was Jackson. Everything okay in here? He looked between us. I heard raised voices. Everything's fine, Sylvia said smoothly. Just a small disagreement about flower placement. Jackson's eyes narrowed on the cake that's not even assembled yet. Jackson, Celeste touched his arm. Could you give us a minute? Sister stuff. After he left, Sylvia turned to me. You have 24 hours to back out. After that, she let the threat hang in the air. Or what? I stepped closer. You'll do to me what you did to everyone else who got in your way. Go ahead. Some things are worth losing everything for. She stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The moment she was gone, Celeste sagged against the counter. She'll tell them everything, she whispered. No, I said, pulling out my phone to text Tabitha. She won't, because that would mean admitting she knew about it all along. She's as guilty as they are. My phone buzzed. Rhea, I'm so sorry. Should I come back? Not today, I typed back. But be ready for tomorrow. Everything's moving up. Celeste watched me text. The reporters. Tabitha's contact is ready the moment we give the signal. What about the evidence? The USB drives? I opened a cabinet, revealing a row of completed sugar flowers, each with a hollow center, ready to be placed on the cake. During setup, no one will question the bride checking the decorations one last time. Celeste touched one of the flowers gently. It's really happening. Last chance to back out? I offered. She straightened up, smoothing her wedding dress. No. Sylvia just proved exactly why we need to do this. After she left, I called Tabitha and Rhea for an emergency meeting. We had to move fast now. Sylvia might not tell her family everything, but she'd definitely try to stop us. As I waited for them to arrive, I looked at the sugar flowers we'd created. Each one beautiful, delicate, and carrying enough evidence to bring down an empire. The bell above the bakery door chimed. Time to finish what we started. Wedding day. My hands were steady as I assembled the 6-tier masterpiece in the Griffin Estates Grand Ballroom. Each sugar flower contained its own digital bombshell waiting to detonate. Everything looks perfect, Miranda gushed, circling the cake. The flowers are exquisite. Thank you. I adjusted the final tier. Is the bride ready for the final approval? Small delay upstairs. Family drama, apparently. My stomach clenched. Had Sylvia finally cracked? Rhea appeared at my elbow, carrying a box of backup flowers. Everything okay? Before I could answer, shouting erupted from the hallway. Celeste burst into the ballroom, still in her wedding robe, with Sylvia right behind her. You can't do this. Sylvia grabbed her sister's arm. Think about what you're throwing away. Let go of me. Celeste's voice was steel. She turned to Miranda. Could you give us a moment? The wedding planner hesitated, then hurried out. Rhea squeezed my hand and followed. The reporters are already here, Sylvia hissed. I saw them arriving. What did you do? Nothing yet. Celeste walked to the cake, pretending to inspect it. Her fingers brushed one of the sugar flowers. But in about 3 hours, I'll tell Jackson everything. No, you won't. I stepped forward. Because we have proof of your involvement too. Every bribe, every forged document, every campaign contribution to look the other way. The ballroom doors opened again. Chase strutted in, champagne in hand despite the early hour. Ladies, beautiful cake. Scarlett almost makes up for he stopped sensing the tension. Everything okay here? Fine. Sylvia snapped, just discussing some last-minute details. Really? He smirked. Because it looked like the doors burst open again. Jackson stormed in, face dark with anger, waving his phone. What the hell is this? My heart stopped. On his screen was an email, one of the documents from the USB drive. Someone just sent this to every guest. He looked between us. Something about illegal evictions and forged permits? Jackson, Celeste started. Don't. He turned to me. This was you, wasn't it? Couldn't stand seeing me happy. Actually, Celeste stepped between us. It was me. The silence that followed was deafening. What? Chase laughed nervously. Come on, Celeste. This is just some bitter ex trying to what? I cut in. To expose how your families built their fortunes, how many lives you destroyed. You don't understand business, Jackson sneered. No, you don't understand humanity. Celeste pulled out her phone, and in about 10 seconds, neither will anyone else. She pressed a button. Immediately, phones throughout the building started buzzing. The evidence was going out. All of it. You bitch. Sylvia lunged for her sister's phone. I moved without thinking, stepping between them. Sylvia's momentum carried us both into the cake table. For one horrible moment, everything tilted. The crash echoed through the ballroom. 6 tiers of cake and sugar flowers scattered across the marble floor. No, Sylvia screamed, diving for the fallen flowers. Where are they? Where are the drives? Looking for these? Rhea stood in the doorway, holding up several USB drives. Behind her, reporters and photographers pushed their way in, cameras flashing. It's over, Celeste said quietly. The evidence is already out there, all of it. Jackson grabbed my arm. You planned this, all of it. Let go of her. Tabitha's voice cut through the chaos. She stood with a police detective I recognized from her law firm. Unless you want to add assault to the list of charges. He released me, stepping back. Charges? This is ridiculous. Our lawyers will already have their hands full, the detective interrupted, holding up a warrant. We've been building this case for months. Your little wedding drama just gave us the final pieces we needed. Guests were flooding in now. Phones out, recording everything. Chase tried to slip away, but was stopped by 2 uniformed officers. You can't do this, Sylvia was saying, mascara running. We're the Griffin family. We're untouchable, not anymore. Celeste untied her wedding robe, revealing a simple dress underneath. And I'm not a Griffin anymore either. I watched as the detective began reading rights, as reporters shouted questions, as the perfect society wedding imploded spectacularly. Scarlett? Rhea touched my arm. The cake, I looked at my masterpiece, destroyed on the floor. Worth it. Besides, Tabitha grinned, snapping pictures with her phone. This is going to make one hell of a story for your bakery's social media. Through the chaos, Celeste caught my eye and nodded. We'd done it. The empire was crumbling, and all it took was some sugar flowers and the truth. As they led Chase and Sylvia away in handcuffs, Jackson turned back one last time. I hope you're happy now. I looked at the destruction around us, the ruined cake, the shocked guests, the imploding dynasty of corruption. Actually, I said, I am. The autumn breeze carried the scent of fresh paint as I unlocked Sweet Endings' door. The sign above now read Sweet Endings and Beginnings. My new partnership with Celeste officially launching today. Still can't believe we're doing this, Rhea said. Arranging pastries in the display case, she'd become my head baker after the wedding scandal, proving herself invaluable. Which part? I asked. The bakery expansion or turning the old Griffin building into a community center? Both. She straightened up, grinning. Though watching Chase's face during the sentencing was pretty unbelievable too. The bell chimed. Celeste walked in, carrying coffee and newspapers. We made the front page again. Of course we did. Tabitha followed her in, legal briefcase in hand. The Griffin Turner corruption case is the gift that keeps on giving. Every new investigation uncovers more dirt. I spread out the newspaper on the counter. The headline read, Former Society Darling opens community center in seized family property. Your father's lawyer still fighting the asset seizure? I asked Celeste. Trying to. But it's hard to argue when there's documented proof of how they acquired the buildings. She pulled out building plans from Tabitha's briefcase. The shelter reopens next week. We've already got programs lined up for job training, childcare, everything we discussed. The bell chimed again. Miranda, the former wedding planner, walked in. Please tell me you're still catering events, she said. I have 3 clients who specifically requested the bakery that took down the Griffins. We're expanding that side of the business too, I said, sharing a look with Celeste, though maybe with less drama this time. Speak for yourself. Rhea pointed through the window. Jackson was walking up to the door. We all tensed, but Tabitha just smiled. Don't worry, he can't come within 100 feet of any of you. Court orders are beautiful things. He stood outside, staring through the glass. I met his gaze steadily. Finally, he dropped an envelope in our mailbox and walked away. I'll get it, Tabitha said, returning with the envelope. It's a check for the ruined wedding cake. Little late for that, Rhea snorted. Donate it to the center, I said. Turning back to the building plans, we've got real work to do. The day flew by in a blur of customers, many asking about the story behind our new partnership. Each time, Celeste told it proudly, how exposing corruption led to redemption. How a ruined wedding cake created something sweeter than revenge. As evening approached, we gathered in the kitchen for our traditional end-of-day coffee. Remember when you thought you were just catering a wedding? Tabitha teased. Remember when you thought small-town life was beneath you? I shot back at Celeste, who had traded her designer clothes for flour-dusted aprons. Best mistake I never made, she said, raising her coffee cup too. Sweet endings and sweeter beginnings, Rhea added. The door chimed one last time. A young woman entered, clutching a newspaper. Are you the ones? She asked. The ones who exposed everything? We nodded. My family, we lost our home to Griffin Industries last year, but now with the investigations, she wiped her eyes. We're getting it back, all the families are. Celeste stepped forward, taking the woman's hands. Come to the center next week. We're helping families navigate the restitution process. After she left, we stood in comfortable silence. You know, Rhea said, we never did figure out who sent that first email to the wedding guests. Tabitha smiled mysteriously. Sometimes karma needs a little push. My phone buzzed. Another interview request about the scandal. I declined it. Ready to lock up? I asked. Almost. Celeste pulled out a small box. Inside was a sugar flower, perfectly crafted. Rhea helped me make it. Thought we could keep one as a reminder. Of what? How to crash a wedding spectacularly. Of how sometimes the sweetest revenge is living well and doing good. We locked up together, the setting sun casting long shadows through our new sign. Outside, the old Griffin building was being transformed. Its imposing facade softened by community artwork and welcome banners. Same time tomorrow? Rhea asked. Wouldn't miss it, I said. As they left, I looked at our reflection in the bakery window. Not just a small-town baker anymore, but someone who'd helped change things for the better. The sugar flower sat in its box, a reminder that the most beautiful things can hide the most powerful truths. I turned off the lights and stepped outside. Tomorrow would bring more work, more challenges, more chances to make things right. But for now, standing in front of my bakery, our bakery, I felt something sweeter than revenge could ever be. I felt peace,